So, Abhilash, thank you so much for joining us in this next edition of the Fire Up series. It's a series of interviews with startup founders, sharing some of their experiences and best practices. I mean, every startup figures something out, right? So, sharing for the benefit of other startups. And you have had an amazing journey with multiple things, and then with Samosa Labs that went on to raise few rounds of funding and a good exit as well. So Abhilash, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ramesh.
So today we're going to be discussing telling your story. I mean, you man, just to remember, I'll let you describe how it happened, but your first brush with the VC in a hostel room, and so obviously your story must have connected up. Of course, the story has to be backed by actual substance on the ground. Things must be happening, but still, things happening is not sufficient if you can't tell the right story to the right people. So that's what we're going to be discussing. So before we get started, Abhilash, why don't you just quickly describe your journey with Samosa Labs? How did the idea come about, and what's happened in the last few years up till the exit? You can just quickly, in a couple of minutes, share the journey.
I graduated, did BTech in computer science from IIIT. I joined in 2005, and after 2009 recession and all, at that time, I decided to do a startup. I did an e-learning startup for a year. That startup didn't go anywhere, and I worked on it along with my classmate Prudvi for a year. And after working for a year, both of us were broke, and we decided we should go to Silicon Valley. And we applied on one day. Both of us were really frustrated, and that night we both applied to 30 companies. I got a job offer from Facebook, and he went and joined a gaming company. So I worked at Facebook for a couple of years, and then came back to India. And I decided to basically, while going itself, I decided I would come back to India and start a company. So I came back, and then I started doing lots of experiments. I launched like 15, 20 products. I basically wanted to do something in consumer internet space, and I got a lot of exposure to the humongous scale of the market in India. And Facebook itself was investing into Indian market a lot because of the sheer size of the market and the kind of things that were happening in the market. So I got exposure to that, and then I decided it's time for me to come back to India and do something. And I came back and I launched the vernacular audio sharing app. So basically, what I observed was people were posting a lot of YouTube links as comments on Facebook. So I wanted to help users do similar sort of thing on WhatsApp. So if users are able to post YouTube links in a comment, it means they want to have a part of the video as a comment. And we clipped those popular movies, etc., and created a huge repository, turned it into app, and we started letting users do whatever they're using in Facebook comments through YouTube links on WhatsApp through audio from our app. That's how our journey started, and we went viral in 2015. That's when the Sequoia Capital guys noticed us, and they reached out to us even before we registered a company, and they decided they would put in a seed round of $1.3 million. We took that money, we built a team, and then we raised another Series A round of $7 million. And then in between, Geo happened. We pivoted to video, and we grew another 10x. And basically, last year we exited the company. Yeah, that's very high level sort of summary.
So, how did you? I mean, like, how did you when you pick the product? How did you pick? I mean, what are the gut feel like? I mean, how do you? Why do you think that might work when you decide on the whole video clip based solution?
Yeah, so the thing I noticed was what users were already doing. So I saw a lot of my friends linking to a particular second of a YouTube video and taking that link which starts playing YouTube video from that second and pasting that particular link on Facebook and posting it as a comment. So either they're trying to pull the leg of the person through that video based comment or whatever. So I basically saw that a lot of people are already engaged in this behavior, and I decided I would replicate this behavior on WhatsApp, and I wanted to have it inline, so the users don't have to go out of WhatsApp, search for the link on YouTube, and so on. So we sort of wrote a plugin at that point in time so that users can share these sorts of interesting clips on WhatsApp without leaving the WhatsApp conversation, without leaving WhatsApp window. So we came up with some sort of a hack at that point in time. So that was basically what gave us conviction because users were already engaged in that behavior on Facebook. We just made it so much easier. We removed so many steps from that process and made it easier for users to do the same on WhatsApp.
So, and then this kind of caught on quickly, like it spread, and then the adoption increased. So, what was the first brush with an investor? How did that happen?
They themselves reached out to us actually. So meeting investors uh, was on our radar, but we were not actively speaking to any of the investors. Luckily, we hit the top 10 apps in entertainment section in India at that point, and because of that, all these investors started reaching out to us. And basically, all these investors and all these phone makers like Xiaomi, etc., they're always on a lookout for what is trending on Play Store, what are the apps users are spending time on, and so on and so forth, because they have to invest in the next big thing that will take off. So they themselves reached out to us. We started trending in entertainment section.
So, what was the first meeting like? First meeting like when you met the first investor? At least you're in a slightly better position here because they saw you trending and then reached out to you. That is, they're already little positively disposed towards you. But what was your pitch like? What was the pitch like? The first investor you met. What was your focus?
Like frankly, we were burning our servers at that point in time. So we had like 100,000 users come onto the app, and the next month the user base grew to 300,000 users, and our server bills were like 24 lakhs at that point in time. So I had borrowed like 4 5 credit cards from friends at that point, and I really didn't have, and I was like only one member team at that point in time. I had a couple of my juniors from college who started helping me out, but essentially there was no time to even make a presentation deck because we had to keep the servers up and so on and find ways to take care of the bills. So the first meeting, so the Sequoia guys came. So we were in a paying guest hostel at that point in time. So they came to our hostel and we actually served them some samosas at that point in time. And they had like 70 80 questions for us. Uh, and for most of the questions, my answer was, I don't know. Or my answer was mostly like, I was hoping you will help me with that question. Or mostly something like, I was hoping both of us can figure out what to do together. So if they ask me what is your vision with this company, I would answer something like, I was hoping we'll figure out together, or I was hoping you will help me with that. So for most of the questions, I didn't have any answers. Like
Huh.
maybe the only questions I could answer were like how much time users were spending on our app, and what is their behavior like, and which are the other markets in which we're going to launch next, and then why do users like this app, and why are they like I knew a lot about the users because that is what I was doing day in day out. But other than that, I had answers to none of the other questions. What will be the business model? No answer. What is the vision of the company? No answer. So I think for 80 questions they had, I had answers like for 30, 35-ish questions, and for the rest of the questions, my answers were like, I have no clue, I don't know.
So two things come across clearly in this. One is, I think where it matters, you had the answers. I mean, you knew your users very well, what they were doing, and like that's one. And second thing, of course, if you don't know the answers, best to say I don't know, right? I mean, like it's a journey. It's not that everything is there upfront. I think those are two takeaways. But these were the first few investor meetings. Did it change afterwards? I mean, after the first few, like after a few months, how did it change?
Yeah, uh, so we had like a 5-year journey with our investors, and for us, since the start, we always wanted to go really, really big. So we wanted either a very big win, like we wanted something that will be used by all of India. We wanted to build that kind of product. But the retention our products had, we had a problem. So the users were coming, users were using the app for the novelty factor in it. But then after a few months, they are stopping to use it, or the usage was declined. So we had very serious conversations with our like in consumer internet. The only thing that matters is retention. So whether you are able to retain your users in long term, because if you have money, you can put up ads and acquire users one way or the other, or you could do pre-installs on their phones and so on. But you do all those things by spending money, and if you're not able to retain them, what good is it for? So we're very serious conversations, in-depth conversations with our investors many times around retention, and yeah, that shaped our journey, uh, the path we took.
So they that's good that they became more actively became kind of collaborators with you, trying to help wherever they could.
I mean, like we have one of the many companies they have invested in. Obviously, the level of attention, etc., they would give will be like they would do things like doing introductions to the investors who might do the next round, or for example, Sequoia does a they did a like if you're Series A company, they would invite Series B, Series C, Series D level kind of investors who would invest the next rounds, and invite all the Sequoia portfolio companies to one location,
Hmm.
and then gather all these investors also and do a mixture with them. So they would organize those sort of things for all the portfolio companies. They would invite us, and whenever we reach out and ask for something, they would do that as well. Yeah, so that like generic things for all the portfolio companies that helped us, and then as far as specific things, we had to ask, like
Hmm.
we need introduction to this, or we need introduction to that, because we are one of the many companies there.
True. I mean, they're probably going to talk to you once a month. Yeah, they're available when you need something. But otherwise, yes. Now, what were the? I mean, as you, I mean, especially in this conversation with the downstream investors, Series B, Series C investors, what was the essence? I mean, obviously, if you're going to a mixer or such, your first conversation with anybody is going to last a couple of minutes, right? And so, what was your primary pitch? I mean, like from the journey of past several years and all the stuff that you've tried and all the stuff that's working and your plans, you have to pick up few things to talk to them in the first few minutes. So, what were those few things that you picked?
Yeah, so for example, I went to Beijing uh, in 2018, ending 2019, starting, and I met the investors from Morningside Ventures. So they have invested in a lot of consumer companies in China over the last 10, 15 years. Some of the mega successful consumer companies in China are backed by them. So, uh, so the very first question they asked me when I visited their office was, "It's not what's your name? It's not how are you doing? Whatever." So the very first question was, "What's your D180 retention?"
What's your T?
So D180
One eight.
retention. So of the 100. 100 people who join your app today, how many of those 100 people open the app on 180th day from now?
Hmm.
So they said, oh, just one line. If your D180 retention is between 12 to 15%, we'll write a check. As
Huh.
simple as that.
And just based on the number, or they wanted the story behind it also? Like, how are you able to get the number?
So if you have the number, we'll write a check right now without thinking. But if you don't have the number, then we'll speak. So that was the
Okay.
sort of conversation.
Huh.
So like hitting that number of D180 retention, it means you have to be best in the whole planet with respect to consumer internet product. You
Hmm.
have to like really understand why your users are coming here, what is the long-term value you are adding to user. They're not asking for D7 retention or D30 retention. They're asking for D180 retention.
Hmm.
So that means you have to do that level of
Permanent
planning,
well.
that level of user understanding, that level of insight into users' life.
Hmm.
Also demonstrate. It's not just good to have your insight, but also demonstrate that you're actually at that number.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was very, it was like very hard hitting, or it's not even hard hitting. It's like a bar for, uh, this is a bar we look at in terms of
Hmm.
product. If you
Hmm.
are the
Hmm.
product guy and if you are running a consumer company, look, if you are here, we are in the same club. That's sort of a conversation.
Huh. Huh.
Like with other investors, there'll be other things they ask, team and all. Uh, but
But what is your opening line? Yes, when the conversation starts, they're going to probe and get whatever information they need. But when you start to talk, what are your key points that you would highlight in the opening conversation, first minute, couple of minutes?
the first minute, couple of minutes, it's mostly situational. It's mostly about growth. So mostly in consumer internet, you're either growing or you're not in sight.
Hmm.
So the very first leading line is either we have grown 5x in the last 3 months or we have grown 10x in the last 10 months,
Hmm.
and here is how we have done it. That's the starting line, growth.
So, okay, in consumer internet, it's easy to talk in terms of users and engagement. But if it was in the kind of an enterprise space, but some similar key result you have to highlight. In the opening, because it should catch the attention.
Yeah. So then the questions will be, you have to also like, the questions next will be, oh, there is other competitor of yours, they are also doing a lot of things. Now despite them doing so many things, how come you are growing? So those sort of next questions, follow-up questions will come. So like it's actually easy, like you can, depends on like, depending on the situation in which you are pitching, it will
Hmm.
be easy where the conversation will go. It will be easy to see.
But what are some of the recurring themes? Okay, one is the reason both. Clearly, I think anybody that's an important point to highlight. What are some of the other points that come up frequently that you would need to touch upon?
uh, I think the only two, I raised a seed round and then a series A. Both of the rounds happened when we were growing like crazy.
So just that number was sufficient.
It was definitely necessary, sufficient, or not.
Meaning, until that caught the attention. Then see, once it
Yes,
catches the attention, I think always they say when you meet an investor or anybody else, even a large corporate, anybody, once you catch the attention, then they are going to probe and get what they want out of it. They're going to ask
yes,
you
yes,
to get
yes,
answers. You just have to make sure that you got their interest.
yes.
So to that extent, I think in consumer internet space, like you said, you tell them we've grown 5x in the last 3 months, it is going to catch their interest, and they're going to ask the questions after that.
Yeah, I think after that, the key question is what is driving this growth? Is that, does the team have some unique insight around it?
Hmm.
What is it that is unique about this team that is driving this?
Also,
And
team
whether,
is the focus, not even what you're doing. The team that is doing is what they're more interested in.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very
And
interesting.
who are your next hires? So
Hmm.
in one of the pitches, I had like a sheet of A4 paper on which I had written the actual names of people, their
Huh.
roles and responsibilities for the next 6 months, and what is the impact they'll be adding for the company for the next 6 months. And basically, in one of the pitches, I said, this A4 sheet is the answer to all of your questions.
Hmm.
These are my next 20 hires.
Interesting. Very interesting. It's a very interesting way to look at it. I mean, like, yes, everybody believes team is important, but putting so much emphasis on the team, that's very, very interesting. So, so the statistics, the team, and in some ways, I think you're right. If you talk about like these are my next set of hires, that explains a lot of things. I mean, why you're doing it. I mean, what is the reason behind it? So it explains your plans, explains your priorities. No, it's a very interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, yeah, Abhilash, good, good.
one of the other things I used to do in the pitches was I used to tell them what our anti-product roadmap is.
Things that you won't do.
Yeah, things that we will never do.
Ha ha.
We'll never do either because our users don't want them, or our competitors have tried and failed on them, or it shows like to define an anti-product roadmap, you really need to be very deep into the
Hmm.
market.
Hmm.
So that is one other thing that has helped me while doing these pitches.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that, like you said, it is all demonstrates clarity, and if you know things that you're not going to do and why you're not going to do it, I think it's a connect with the market. So it's fantastic, Abhilash. So I think we've come to the end of the 20 minutes. So before we wrap up, one growth hack tip from your experiences, one growth hack tip that you would share to other founders, especially early stage founders.
Um, in consumer, I think like there's always something I have to take an example. Like a lot of the growth that we have achieved was because users were sharing content from our app to WhatsApp. And for example, when we launched videos, users were downloading videos from our app and putting it up as status message on WhatsApp. And then each of those videos would have a big logo of Samosa, and then all of their friends would get to know about Samosa and they get to download our app. So this was basically how we acquired a lot of users. We acquired like 10 million users through this sort of a loop.
Hmm.
So user comes, shares content on WhatsApp. Their friends see that this content is shared from Samosa, and they go to Play Store, search for Samosa, and then this loop continues.
Hmm.
So in our entire journey, we had never spent any money on marketing. We had spent like zero money. So all of our growth was through this content sharing loop. So most of the because we gave them something for users to get attention in their circles, for users to express themselves in their circles, they were doing the work for us of communicating our product. It became
Hmm.
part of their message to their friends.
Hmm. Hmm. No, makes a lot of sense. I think, like they say, if you pack enough interest, the viral marketing is the best way. I mean, if it goes viral, people are sharing. In this case, you're saying it's not even that they were sharing about you; they were sharing the videos, and others were coming because they saw your kind of branding on the videos. But I think fantastic. I mean, there's no better way to market than when the product markets itself.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so Abhilash, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope everything's okay and you're staying safe. Thanks so much for taking the time. It's been fantastic as always.
Safe health to everybody. I think these are some crazy times. I hope the virus mutates and becomes benign.
True, true. Interesting. One of the project that is just started last week, CSIR, IIIT, and Intel. So CCMB and IGP in Delhi are going to be sequencing, collecting a lot of samples and sequencing the virus. And one of the scope is to detect mutation when it happens. So they're
Wow.
going to study a lot of sequences, genome sequences, and so they want to just have the algorithm built that can detect a mutation when it happens, if and when it happens. Let's see. Hopefully, it will get better and not worse. So Abhilash, thank you so much.